Welcome to Registrar Corp's mini MoCRA webinar today, an overview of facility registration and product listings under MoCRA. This will be the first session of a series of mini MoCRA sessions. These sessions are designed to give you quick details and information about specific topics that are needed for compliance under MoCRA and include any necessary developments that occur through this crazy year of MoCRA. At Registrar Corp, we proudly offer importers, exporters, and regulatory professionals a comprehensive array of services and software that help companies achieve and maintain FDA regulatory compliance. We understand how daunting FDA compliance can be. Our team of qualified experts provide the support you need to help keep your supply chain compliant and protect consumers, your brand, and reduce the risk of costly disruptions to your business. I'm Jaclyn Bellomo, the Director of Cosmetic Services and Software at Registrar Corp, and I support the team on regulatory guidance and requirements for cosmetics, as well as providing support on our Cosmetry Product Manager and GMP software. Thank you for all our participants joining today. We look forward to providing you with important information. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, and we will answer them at the end. So here's our agenda for today's mini MoCRA session. We'll first be covering who will be required to submit facility registration, what establishments are exempt, and timing with requirements. We will then cover cosmetic product listings to understand who is responsible, as well as the timing and requirements, and those that are exempt as well. We'll also cover scenarios around the responsible person that work with contract manufacturers and owner and operators of facilities. As some of you may have joined before, we always want to make sure we start with key definitions that are new to MoCRA and that will help us understand our topics for today. MoCRA introduces some new terminology to cosmetic regulations, so it's really important to understand how MoCRA defines specific terms so that you can determine which requirements will apply to you and your products. There are 4 key definitions which we should be aware for today's mini session that include cosmetic product, cosmetic ingredient, responsible person, facility, and flexible listing. Identifying what will be considered a cosmetic product is an important definition as it will determine the regulations that you will need to follow for compliance. The previous definition of a cosmetic under FDA was articles intended to be rubbed, poured, sprinkled, or spread on, introduced into, or otherwise applied to the human body or any part thereof for cleansing, beautifying, promoting attractiveness, or altering the appearance, and articles intended for use as a component of such articles. MoCRA introduces a new definition for a cosmetic product, which the term cosmetic product means the preparation of cosmetic ingredients with qualitative and quantitative set composition for use in a finished product. The term cosmetic ingredient does not change, but does mean any single chemical entity or mixture that is used as a component in the manufacturing of a cosmetic product. Very important to know how the cosmetic product definition changed into a set of ingredients with qualitative and quantitative set composition. So very important to understand that term moving forward. MoCRA also introduces the concept of the responsible person to cosmetic products and their labeling. The term responsible person means the manufacturer, packer, or distributor of a cosmetic product whose name appears on the label of such cosmetic product in accordance with Section 609A of the FD&C Act or Section 4A of the Fair Packaging and Labeling Act. MoCRA states that the responsible person is charged with conducting certain activities related to the product, listing adverse events related to the product, substantiation of safety for the product, additional labeling requirements imposed by MoCRA, and fragrance allergen disclosures and records. MoCRA also introduces the term facility with respect to cosmetic firms and products with very specific definition. The term facility includes any establishment, including an establishment of an importer that manufactures or processes cosmetic products distributed in the United States. A facility will be responsible for facility registration and GMP compliance issued by FDA. There are exclusions and exemptions to some facilities that need registration, and we will discuss that today. And lastly, the term flexible listing was also introduced under MoCRA. This term is a single listing submission for a cosmetic product that may include multiple cosmetic products with identical formulations or formulations that only differ with respect to colors, fragrance, or flavors or quantity of contents. To give an example, if you have a lipstick and the only difference and it has 50 shades, and the only difference is the shades, the colorants used to develop those shades, you would technically only have one submission under this term flexible listing. We are still unsure on how FDA is going to handle submitting flexible listings. We're still waiting to see how that will play out in a portal, but just know to overview your products and make sure that any ones that are deemed a flexible listing that you kind of point out now. We'll now get into the facility registration. MoCRA mandates registration for owners and operators of facilities that manufacture or process cosmetics for U.S. distribution. You might be asking, what do the terms manufacturing and process mean under MoCRA? FDA has not provided any guidance on compliance with these terms or requirement under MoCRA. FDA currently defines cosmetic manufacturing as the making of any cosmetic product by chemical, physical, biological, or other procedures, including manipulation, sampling, testing, or control procedures applied to the product. FDA does not define or use the term processing under cosmetics, but other product areas that are tied to manufacturing and processing, FDA uses the term interchangeably to refer to any activity that involves manipulating ingredients into products. This also includes filling of a product container with a cosmetic product. This may or may not fall under the responsible person for MoCRA. MoCRA clearly states that a facility that manufactures or processes cosmetic products will need to register. So that will include if you manufacture bulk at a facility, move that bulk to another facility to fill into its final product, both of those facilities will need to register. What is important to note is that facilities that manufacture and process cosmetics and also manufacture and process cosmetics that are also drugs will need to register. For example, a facility that makes a lip balm and then also makes a moisturizer with SPF would be a facility that manufactures cosmetics and cosmetics that are also drugs. These facilities will need to hold a drug establishment registration as well as a cosmetic facility registration. Facilities that only manufacture cosmetics that are drugs and do not manufacture or process cosmetics will only need to hold a drug establishment registration. Contract manufacturers whose facility manufactures or processes cosmetic products on behalf of one or more responsible persons will only require one registration for the facility, even if that facility also manufactures and processes its own cosmetic products on top of products for multiple responsible persons. If the owner and the operator of the facility has multiple facilities with different locations, each facility would need to register and obtain their own registration number. Very important if you are a responsible person working with a contract manufacturer who might have a facility that manufactures bulk and then has a facility that fills the bulk. Again, both of those facilities will need to be registered with FDA and also listed on the product listing. MoCRA clearly defines the term facility does not include any of the following establishments. So beauty shops or salons, cosmetic product retailers, direct sellers, retail distribution facilities, pharmacies, hospitals, and healthcare clinics, public health agencies, entities that provide complementary cosmetics incidental to other services such as hotels, trade shows and other venues that provide product samples, establishments that manufacture cosmetics solely for the use in research or evaluation, establishments that solely perform one or more of the following with respect to a cosmetic product: labeling, relabeling, packaging, repackaging, holding, or distributing. Note that as used above, the term packing and repacking does not include filling a product container with a cosmetic product. This means that a facility that fills a product will still have to require. Labeling would mean that you have the final product in hand and you are applying a label. Same with relabeling. Packing and repacking basically is having the finished product already in its finished container or package and packing into, say, a kit. Existing facilities will have 1 year from the date of enactment, which was December 29th, 2022, to register the facility with FDA. New facilities must register within 60 days of first manufacturing cosmetic products, but no sooner than December 29th, 2023. But enforcement provisions tied to MoCRA do not take effect until December 29th, 2023. Facilities must re-register every 2 years. In terms of any updates, registrants must provide updates to the registration information within 60 days of any change to the required information needed for facility registration. So this will include updating any brand names, product categories, or responsible persons to which are manufactured at the facility. It's really important that that the update happens within that 60 days. So have someone on your team tracking this information constantly. With respect to any foreign facility, the contact has to be a U.S. agent and it needs to be identified. The U.S. agent will serve as a communication link between the registrant and the agency for both routine and emergency communications. U.S. agents are required to be a person or business entity that resides in the U.S. or maintains a U.S. place of business and is physically present in the U.S. So it has to be a person or business entity sitting in the U.S. that can be contacted by FDA. Part of these mini series, we're going to be showing you some common questions, maybe some questions that you don't necessarily think about when you're thinking about MoCRA. So some common questions that we've been getting through the, just general industry. Who counts as a direct seller exempt from facility registration requirements? So MoCRA cross-references the definition of a direct seller from the Internal Revenue Code. The code states that the direct sellers are persons who shall sell consumer products for resales or directly to the ultimate purchaser in a home or some other non-retail setting, getting paid substantially all income from selling based on sales volume and perform sales services to a written contract that provides that person will not be treated as an employee of federal tax purposes. So very important to know where the direct seller exemption comes from and what FDA uses that definition from. How do the registration requirements apply when a manufacturer produces cosmetic, drugs, or cosmetics and devices? If an establishment produces cosmetics that are not drugs or devices, it must be registered as a cosmetic facility, even if it also is registered as a drug or device establishment. It's very important to note that many times these products cross over in the same facilities and that they will need to hold both establishment registrations, so drug establishment, device establishment, and also a cosmetic facility registration. If an establishment only makes cosmetics that are drugs or just devices, it does not need to register for cosmetic facility registration. May contract manufacturers register on behalf of multiple responsible persons? Yes, a single registration is appropriate where a contract manufacturer makes products on behalf of multiple responsible persons, even if that manufacturer makes its own products at that facility. It can be submitted by either the manufacturer or the responsible person who uses that facility. So very important, again, if you're a responsible person, to know all of the facilities that you're manufacturing your products at and all the facilities that are processing your cosmetic products. Are foreign facilities that manufacture or process cosmetics that are only sold online required to register? So yes, if a facility manufactures or processes cosmetic products for distribution in the United States, they will be required to register their facility. Again, this is somebody who might be producing product in China and shipping directly to the United States, but only through online will still need to register. Do cosmetic laboratories need to register as facilities? So as long as the laboratory does not produce cosmetic products for retail sales, an exemption should apply from facility registration and requirements. We'll now get into product listings. We are now just going to cover some of the basics for cosmetic product listings. A responsible person must submit the cosmetic product listings for each cosmetic product to FDA. Products that are both drugs and cosmetics are exempt from cosmetic listing requirements, but must still follow requirements of Chapter 5 of the FD&C Act. An example of a cosmetic that is also a drug are anti-dandruff shampoos, foundations with SPF, and acne creams. So very different from the registration requirements for drug and devices. If you have a cosmetic that is also a drug, it does not need to get listed with cosmetics. As mentioned, FDA will be allowing for flexible listings that may ease some of the burden. Flexible listings allow for that single submission for multiple products that have that identical formulation that only differ for color, flavor, or net quantity of contents. Your firm may save significant amounts of time by determining right now what products may qualify for this process. Flexible listings will also be used if you manufacture or process the same identical formulations at multiple locations. So anyone that is doing dual sourcing or having that formulation done, that identical formulation done, but for separate brands, all locations can be listed on that product listing. At the time of the initial registration, any facility or initial listing of a cosmetic product, the secretary is going to assign a facility registration number to the facility and to the product listing number for each cosmetic product. These numbers will not be publicly available. They will be specific to that facility and specific to that product listing. Just note that any failure to submit your product listing could result in a mandatory recall. Is it important to understand the product listing timing and requirements that would be mandated per that timing? Products marketed prior to December 29, 2022 must submit listing information by December 29, 2023. Products first marketed after December 29, 2022 must submit listing information within 100 days of first marketing the product. Responsible persons must provide updates to product listing information on an annual basis. Product listing requires an annual renewal. So a responsible person needs to make sure that they are keeping track of their product listings, keeping track of the information that needs to get updated as well. A responsible person needs to submit product listing information as a part of a facility registration or separately. Similar to facility registration process, FDA is expected to establish an abbreviated renewal process for any listings. So where there have been no changes since the responsible person submitted to the previous listing. Again, we're not sure what that abbreviated renewal process will look like, but just note that there are provisions in place to prevent the continuous listing of the same product that stays on the market for several years. Some common questions. So who is responsible for ensuring that a cosmetic product is listed with FDA? So again, the responsible person must ensure a cosmetic product is listed with FDA. I'm sure all of you have heard many say this over and over again, but it's very important since a lot of brands and a lot of companies do use third-party manufacturers to note where that responsibility falls on the responsible person and where it falls on the facility. Do companies need to list both professional and consumer products? So yes, all cosmetic products, including professional products, must be listed with FDA. If the same product is manufactured at multiple facilities, should companies submit the product listing multiple times? So no, only one product listing is required for each cosmetic product, but each listing must include the facility registration number of each facility where that cosmetic product is manufactured or processed. So again, if you fill at one place, manufacture at another, that identical formulation is also made somewhere else and filled somewhere else, all 4 of those registration numbers need to be listed on the product listing. Do products that are manufactured in foreign facilities and distributed in the US need to be listed? Yes, a responsible person must submit product listings for each cosmetic product marketed in interstate commerce. This requirement um, applies to the cosmetic products regardless of where they're manufactured. Next, we're going to go through how to prepare as a responsible person. First up is the preparing for facility registration, an RP that uses the contract manufacturer. So if your firm is the responsible person that uses the contract manufacturer to manufacture or process cosmetic products on your behalf, it is important to get started right now. We are about to hit July, which is the half-year mark, which means we really only have 6 months left for the compliance date, and the portal that is still not open, but we hope to open soon. It's important not to wait for that portal to open, but to kind of come up with a plan right now on how to work with your contract manufacturer. So ensuring that the facility plans on registering and whether they fall under a small business exemption, coordinating with the facility on who will be responsible for submitting the registration to cut down on multiple facility registration submissions. And lastly, any foreign facility where your products are made will require a designated U.S. agent, so make sure that they have secured a U.S. agent before the deadline. Registrar Corp actually offers U.S. agent and FDA regulatory communication services, which includes registration and updates. So make sure your facilities do plan on sealing or to committing to a U.S. agent now, because with 6 months left, there will be a rush to designate U.S. agents. As an owner and operator of a facility that manufactures or processes cosmetic products for U.S. distribution, you must register with the FDA. The first step is to determine how to handle facility registration by creating an internal process on submitting registration, renewal process, and handling all updates when required. If you are a non-S firm, determine who your U.S. agent will be. You will also need your facility's name, address, email, and telephone, as well as the brand names which the products are sold, and the product category or categories for the product, and a responsible person for the product. So again, if you are a contract manufacturer, this list can be in the hundreds. So very important to start preparing now all the brand names, the product categories, and the responsible persons for those products to be able to submit. As mentioned before, you must notify FDA within 60 days of any changes of the registration information. If you fall under the definition of responsible person, you need to, that uses a contract manufacturer, and you need to list your products. You will need to list them by the end of the year. Determine how your firm will handle the product listings, annual updates, and new product launch listings. Again, this is important to create a list of all cosmetic products with their cosmetic category, where they're made or where they're processed. Since facility registration numbers will be required, collect all registration numbers from facilities where the cosmetic product is manufactured or processed. Lastly, request a list of ingredients, including fragrances, flavors, colors from the contract manufacturer. If you are a responsible person that works with a contract manufacturer, it's best start collecting this information now, as many will be overwhelmed with the requests that are coming from multiple responsible persons that they manufacture on behalf of. Again, this will also help you determine if your products qualify for flexible listings and may ease some of that burden. So it's important to understand where you qualify in terms of the flexible listings now with talking to your contract manufacturers. If you fall under the definition of responsible person and you are also a facility owner and operator, you will need to prepare the information necessary to list your products by the end of this year with your facility. So you need to determine how your facility will handle product listings, renewals, and updates. It's best to create a list of cosmetic products along with the categories associated. Product names, list of ingredients will also need to be declared. If you're a contract manufacturer that manufactures or processes on behalf, it is important to designate someone in your facility to handle the requests that will be asked of your brands. It is important at this time to communicate with your responsible persons on how you plan on handling product listings and the timing of the information that will be provided when requested. it's important to communicate also that this could be a large request. So it's important to get started now so that you're able to fulfill the requests that are going to be coming in from your responsible persons. Lastly, we always love to end with a timeline. It's really important that we understand what this timing looks like, what the responsibilities are going to be needed as soon as the end of this year, and then mostly going into the next few years. So again, facility registration, product listing, both due by December 29th of 2023. And we'll be doing a lot of these mini sessions and doing a lot of the responsible persons, working with third parties, contract manufacturers, working with responsible persons, what that means around all labeling, fragrance allergen disclosures, record keeping, anything that you could probably think of that would eventually lead to lots of questions and a lot of information being passed back and forth through the responsible person and the contract manufacturer. So we have time for a few questions. So renewal of facility registration, it's supposed to be reviewed every 2 years. So from December 29, 2023, if you are an existing facility and submit your registration on the compliance date, it would be the initial registration date. Who falls under the small business exemption? So the small business exemption is any facility that has a annual gross income of less than $1 million for a 3-year period. But they do include some clauses under that. So if you produce anything that is used around the mucus of the eye, that is injected, or that alters the appearance for more than 24 hours, that is customary, that exemption does not fall if you are a small business. Just so you know, Registrar Corp has a blog on cosmetics right now, and we have a great article on Cosmetic 101 that goes through a little bit of those small business exemptions. So feel free to stop by our website, sign up for our blog so you can get some of this information right on hand. When will the registration process for flexible listens be searchable for external parties? So as I mentioned, they're not going to make any information public that isn't under the Freedom of Information Act. So again, no ingredient listings or anything will be public. It will be basically the facility, type of establishment, the address, but meaning just state and zip code. If a contract manufacturer makes cosmetics for US, non-drug, and SPF formulas for only the Asia market, do they only need to register for a cosmetic facility? So if they are not making an SPF product that is a drug in the US, then they would only need to establish themselves as a cosmetic facility for US. So very important to know that the products that are being made are under the FDA, the FD&C Act, and what they consider to be drugs. For a foreign manufacturer whose details already appear on the label printed box by appointing U.S. agent, is it required that the U.S. agent details required on the packaging as well? So no, the U.S. agent details do not need to be required on the packaging. The only important part of the responsible person would be so that adverse event reports can be sent to that responsible person. The U.S. agent is specific to the facility, so for foreign facilities, so that they are able to have contact within the United States for FDA to communicate. Questions do we have? We are a contract manufacturer for bulks that are then packed out and sold by intermediates that communicate us to the final brands. What are our obligations during facility registration? So again, if you manufacture bulk that is packed out and sold to somebody else, you're technically still manufacturing a product that is distributed in the United States. Very important clarification that's being made right now is that foreign facilities, even if they manufacture bulk or fill a cosmetic product that's sold to a company in the EU, and that company in the EU then markets that product in the US, that facility is still responsible to register because they are technically manufacturing, processing bulk for distribution in the US. So very important to note that if you do work with foreign companies and foreign brands, to know if they sell into the US, because you will have that responsibility to register your facility. So we're coming up on the half hour, and I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. I love all the questions. We plan on holding a question and answer session in the coming months so that the whole time that we're on here, you guys can ask your questions. So please make sure to look out for that. And our next mini session will cover labeling requirements. So an overview of existing label requirements and then what is going to be coming up under MoCRA. So very exciting information to be held about labeling, because it always can be so daunting what goes on a label and where. And now with MoCRA adds another layer of complexity to it. So thank you again, everyone, for joining, and I look forward to seeing you at our next session.